Here, one of the most dramatic and hope-filled chapters in Chronicles. After 6 dark years under the wicked queen Athaliah, God raised up a priest to restore the throne of David, okay? So this chapter is about courage, covenant renewal, the fall of evil, and the restoration of God's promise. So Jehoaida, the priest, becomes a hero of faith, perhaps the most influential spiritual leader since Samuel. The first part of the chapter covers Jehoiada strengthens himself. After 6 years of Athaliah's murderous rule, Jehoiada the priest decided it's time, okay? The text says, Jehoiada show his strength. This means spiritual courage, leadership boldness, faith in God's covenant with David, okay? He gathers key military leaders secretly. Azariah, son of Jeroham, Ishmael, son of Jehohanan, Azariah, son of Obed, Maaseiah, and Elishaphat. These are trusted men who will risk their lives. Spiritual leadership requires courage, especially when confronting evil. The second part of the chapter covers a secret covenant to restore David's line. Jehoiada gathers Levites and leaders from all Judah. They all come to Jerusalem, and in the temple Jehoiada forms a covenant. The king's son shall reign, as the Lord promised concerning the descendants of David. Remember, Athaliah tried to wipe out David's line. God preserved Joash through Jehoiada. Now the priest calls the nation back to God's promise. Even when evil seems to win, God's covenant cannot be broken. The third part of the chapter covers Jehoiada organizes a military plan. This is strategic and brilliant. He divides the Levites into 3 groups: at the temple doors, at the royal palace, and at the foundation gate. They form a protective ring around Joash, the hidden child king. Right. So all the Levites and people must stay armed inside the temple. Jehoiada uses priests, not mercenary soldiers, because this revolution is from God, not human ambition. The fourth part of this chapter covers Joash is crowned king. At the right moment, they brought out the king's son, okay? Joash, age 7, is crowned in the temple, and Jehoiada places the crown on his head, gives him the testimony, which is God's law, and anoints him as king. The people shout, "Long live the king!" Trumpets blast, singers celebrate. The revival begins the moment God's rightful king is restored. The fifth part of the chapter covers Athaliah sees what is happening. Athaliah hears the noise and rushes to the temple. She sees Joash standing by the pillar, the traditional place for kings. She screams, "Treason! Treason!" The woman who murdered the royal family accuses others of treason. Jehoiada orders, "Do not kill her in the temple." So they take her outside and kill her at the horse gate. Evil always cries treason when its illegitimate power is threatened. Okay? The sixth part of the chapter covers Jehoiada restores the covenant. Jehoiada makes 2 covenants. One between God and the king and the people to be the Lord's people, and 2 between the king and the people, restoring unity. Then the people rushed to destroy Baal's temples, smash his altars, kill Baal's priests, Matan, and revival always destroy idols. It's not just personal; it's public. And let me see something real quick. Okay, the seventh part of the chapter covers order and worship restored. Jehoiada appoints priests, Levites, gatekeepers according to David's instructions. Burnt offerings and worship are restored. The city becomes safe again, and when leaders follow God's pattern, blessing returns. The eighth part of this chapter covers the people rejoice as Joash is taken to the palace. Jehoiada and the officials escort Joash from the temple to the palace. He sits on the royal throne of Judah. The chapter ends saying, "All the people rejoiced, and the city was calm because Athaliah had been slain." The nation finally has peace because evil was removed and rightful king restored. Well, at least temporarily, right? What are the key lessons from the second Chronicles chapter 33? The first lesson is God raises leaders in the darkest times. Jehoaida is a priest, not a general, but God uses him to save Judah. Second lesson, God protects his promises. The line of David cannot be destroyed because of the Messiah must come through with. Okay. The third lesson of this chapter is revival requires courage. Jehoiada risked everything to obey God. The fourth lesson of this chapter is truth must confront false power. Athaliah's reign ends the moment God's covenant is restored. The fifth lesson is real revival removes idols. The people don't just say we're God's people, they destroy what opposes him. The sixth lesson is obedience brings peace. When the right king sits on the throne, the city rejoices. In summary, 2 Chronicles chapter 23, Jehoiada the priest leads a courageous revolution to overthrow Athaliah and restore Joash, the rightful heir of David, to the throne. He crowns Joash, organizes spiritual and military protection, destroys Baal worship, renews the covenant with God, and restores righteous order. Okay, the chapter ends with joy and peace, showing that God preserves his promises even in the darkest moments.